All right, good to see you again. Sorry about that weird intro. We are going to talk about how do we evaluate expressions with exponents. And so we started to do that in the last video, but we're going to take a more deliberate look at that and just on what we're doing. Pretty much the idea is whenever you're doing these types of problems is you're kind of going backwards with what we're writing it out. We went from writing a bunch of factors into writing something with a base and an exponent. Now we're going to do it the other way, and then when we say evaluate something, the key word in evaluate, sorry, that won't look very good now, will it? The key word is, if you look at this little stem right here, is value. So whenever you evaluate something, you are trying to find the value of the expression. So they want you to assign a number to it. So that's what we're going to do with these. So if we have 3 to the 4th, think about that. That means we have 3 as a factor that we are multiplying 4 times. And so you get this. And then the hardest thing about doing these problems is just, knowing your multiplication facts. And again, if you need to use a calculator, that's fine. So you would have 9, all right? And then if I do 3 times 3 over here, I get 9. And then 9 times 9 is 81. You could also do this as 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. If you don't know that, that's an easy calculator problem. So either way, it gives you 81. So that is our answer. All right, let's look at this. We have negative 2/3 to the 4th power. So there's 2 weird things going on in this one. The first weird thing is that we have a negative sign. So we got to remember when we have that negative sign that means we're using that negative sign each time. Okay? And then the other weird thing is that it's multiplying fractions, and I know a lot of us do not like doing fractions. So my approach to doing problems like this is, the first thing let's do is let's deal with the negative signs and let's determine what sign our final answer is going to be. So we've got one negative times another negative. A negative times a negative is a positive. Then when we multiply it by another negative, that gives us a negative. And then when we multiply that negative times this last negative, that gives us a positive again. Remember, whenever you multiply and you have 2 negatives, that makes a positive. So my answer is going to be positive, and I'm just going to write that down, even though normally you don't write that in the answer. Then what you do is you take all of your numerators, which is your top number in the fraction, and those are all going to get multiplied by each other and will remain on the top of the fraction. And then your bottom numbers are all going to, which is called your denominator, are all going to remain in the bottom portion of your fraction. And so just figuring that out, well, 2, I'm going to come up with a color here. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 again is 16. So that gives me 16. All right, and then this one, 3 times 3 gives me 9, times 3 again gives me 27, times 3 gives me 81. And we actually had that one in the last one. What you'll find with some of these is that you'll be using a lot of the same numbers. All right, so 16 over 81, and that is simplified answer. All right, let's look at another one. 4 to the 4th power. So let's just write this out and what it means. This means 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. So 4 is my base, which is why I kept repeating it, and I repeated it this many times, 4 times. So 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64, and then 64 times 4 is 256. So our answer is 256, and I only know that because I've done it a number of times. Right? 2 more examples. This one right here, again, we've got a negative sign, so we've got to include that when we write this factor out. So we have negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, and then you'll write that out 6 times. And when we do that, let's start with our negative signs. All right. So these two make a positive. And then let's just go, let's not combine these yet. And let's do these two right here, make a positive. And then these two make a positive. Well, a positive times a positive gives me a positive. And then this positive right here times this positive gives me another positive. So my final answer is going to be positive. And then it's just a matter of just doing my multiplications of 2's. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32, and then times my last 2 is 64. So my final answer is positive 64. All right, last example. Evaluate this expression. So this is saying I'm using 1/5 as a factor 3 times. I'm multiplying it. All right, and this is, there's no negatives to worry about on this one. So we just do 1 times 1 times 1 on the top, your numerator, and in your denominator, 5 times 5 times 5. So 1 times itself, however many times you do it, it's always 1. 5 times 5 is 25. Times an additional 5 is 125. And there you go. Let's see if we have anything else here. Nope, we are all finished. So thanks for watching.